At Five Star Bank, community is at the heart of what we do. Every day we strive to have thoughtful solutions for our customers and help our communities prosper. Honest dialogue about the issues affecting the region is vitally important to that prosperity. We are proud to be part of the conversation and hope you'll join in.
Have you been to a sports event in Sacramento recently? There's baseball with the River Cats, basketball with the Kings, and soccer with Sacramento Republic FC, all drawing crowds in Sacramento that rival festivals. Has our region finally become a sports town, or have we always been a sports town and we just didn't know it? Joining us today on Studio Sacramento to discuss the state of professional sports and what it says about us are Erika Bjork of the Sacramento Republic FC and Chip Maxson of the Sacramento River Cats. What exactly is a sports town, Erika?
Well, I think, it starts with fans. You talk about that fandemonium and that passion for something, and usually it's surrounding a particular sport or a team that pulls them together for that kind of common cause and common goal. I think Sacramento has always been a great sports town. I mean, you look at the fact that the Kings were very much brought here from Kansas City because of a drive by the locals as well as the business leaders to have a sports team of their own. And I think that's just developed with River Cats and now with what we see with Republic FC.
And you all are like the pioneers. What is it, what's kind of like the mentality of people that are really into sports?
Mm-hmm. I think it started with what Erika mentioned. Art and Susan Savage, when they were over in San Jose, recognized that Sacramento is a great sports town. The fans here are avid, and when it comes to baseball, they missed when the Solons left. There was a void. There was an opportunity to bring baseball back to Sacramento, and the goal of the Savage family was bring baseball back, but do more and give back to these great and loyal fans.
And what role do you think that a team like the River Cats and baseball in general has in terms of its effect on building community?
Community's great. I've been in Sacramento for a couple years now, and from talking to people that have been so involved in baseball, even outside of the River Cats, some of the guys like Jerry Manuel or Dusty Baker and the programs that they're doing to revitalize baseball in inner cities and then to continue to get kids involved in Little League programs. Baseball is great because it's more than just a ball game. It's really a family event that brings people together, a great social gathering. And Scott, that's really what sports are, and we try and view it that way. And to be the AAA franchise here in Sacramento, it's a great honor that we can be that cornerstone to help support everything else that's going on in the community through the sport of baseball.
I notice at your games that families in droves and droves and droves, and families at the River Cats obviously, and you see families at Kings games. Soccer, though, seems to be just a mania in this region.
Well, it is, and I think when you talk about Sacramento being a sports town, you also got to look at the natural attributes of what's around us. We have great weather, we have great parks, and this goes not just to, and I think it lends especially for baseball and soccer. We have over 130,000 participants in soccer, both adults and youth, registered that we know of in this region. That doesn't even get to the the outlying areas where you start getting into Modesto or up further to Chico and Redding. So you've got families, and it's part of the reason why this is a great place to live, work, and play. You have the beauty and the great weather and everything else, and so you've got kids out there. And with soccer, the average youth will play soccer for 7 years, which is in general longer than other sports. But it is growing immensely, and part of this also goes to the diverse region we have. We have more and more families that grew up with the sport, and they're passing it on to that next generation.
Some of the naysayers believe that we now have too much sports in this town. No kidding. And that, my gosh, something's got to collapse because you can't have baseball and soccer and basketball all in Sacramento. We just don't have the infrastructure to support it.
Well, we can talk about infrastructure second, but I mean, first and foremost, Sacramento is the most underserved region market for professional sports for a market of our size.
Really?
Really. So Orlando had the title, and they just kicked off literally their MLS season, so they now have an NBA team and an MLS team. For Sacramento, we've got, the River Cats have been a huge piece of that in adding to what the Sacramento Kings is. And, we have Amgen and we have other, CIM and other yearly events that bring, the region together. But when you talk about professional sports as a whole, we're really actually underserved. There is, you kind of look at, to some degree, the sports fan, there's dollars on the table in that regard, both for the corporate investment as well as for the individual fan investment. A great example is, I think twice last year, the River Cats and Sacramento Republic FC had games on the same night when we were playing at Hughes, and they were both sellouts. So you had over 14,000 at Rayleigh Field and over 20,000 at Hughes, and the system didn't shut down. At Hughes Stadium, we were really concerned about parking, and the parking garage at Hughes, which holds 3,000, wasn't filled once because people came in masses on bikes and walking in the neighborhoods and regional transit.
Really?
Really.
People actually used mass transit?
Unbelievable. Can you believe it? Regional transit estimated, I think they had about 3,500 people that they can kind of count and calculate, many of which did it for the first time. And people had fun. There's a community aspect when you come to a game, whether it's because you're walking in together or you're tailgating, or you're meeting up somewhere and walking and going there. People loved, having, getting together with friends in Lamb Park and Curtis Park and Midtown, and then going to the matches together, or going to the local pubs and restaurants and walking. We see this especially with the Tower Bridge Battalion. I think that's one of the things community and sports does, is it creates a gathering place for the community to come together.
Well, and it also can act as pioneer. Now, in the case of Rayleigh Field, you all were really the pioneering presence over in the new bridge district that's being developed right now. And can you share with us at all? I know that your job is to put on great baseball and give fans a great experience, but there are other impacts as well in terms of, as a catalyst for vitality. How does all of that factor in as we as a region consider the presence of sports here?
Yeah, and let me go back and touch on something Erika mentioned too. One of those games in the past where the Republic had a sold-out game, the River Cats had a sold-out game. That was the same night as a Kings draft party, and they had a great presence in Midtown, right on the heels of Amgen. And it was, we put out, there was a Thursday night game, it was a Thursday evening, so it wasn't your popular weekend games either. We put out a hashtag on social media, Sac Loves Sports, and say, hey, we want to see if we can really, if this community will really rally around everything, and they did. And that was the beautiful part about it. And minor league baseball has reached out to us, has praised us for that game, was the overwhelming success that the River Cats saw from that evening. And then overall, it's a great testimony for moving forward in Major League Soccer and other things that, hey, we do support our teams. And there's always going to be naysayers, but it's fun when we get to show them nights like that we had.
Well, you all are onto something really interesting. Now, please correct me if I get this wrong, but in you talking about the capacity that we have to support multiple events all at the same time, I recently had a conversation and I was told that the 49ers actually draw a significant amount of their audience from this region, and that we have completely kind of for years missed it in terms of that there are a lot of people who have an interest or a passion for professional sports. It's just that without a venue other than the River Cats historically, the Kings, and now the Republic to participate in, those dollars have been going someplace else.
Yeah, it's funny. I know a few of the guys that work for the 49ers, and before the stadium was finished, their suite sales, he called me up, he said, look out, we're coming after Sacramento companies. Sacramento gets a knock that there's not enough big business here. Certainly we'd like to see more big business come to the area, but at the same time, When San Francisco and Santa Clara and the 49ers identify Sacramento as a major sports market, we should start paying attention too.
I mean, we are the capital of what is it, the 5th or 6th largest economy now in the world. So with that, I think you have national and international corporations that see the value of investing here. And that is a reflection, I think, both of those corporations that support the sports teams. You know, we learned in now working with the 49ers, you know, they have more season ticket holders in Sacramento than they do in the city of San Francisco.
What? Really?
And so it was one of the reasons they realized this is a great market for them to have a presence in through, you know, working with Republic FC.
Well, hold on. I got to stop you on this one. There are more season ticket holders here than there are in San Francisco proper.
Within the city of San Francisco. Now, single game tickets, an investment in corporate might be different. But, you know, and I think for anyone who has gone to an Oakland Raider game, you know, when you leave at 8 o'clock in the morning to go, you know, drive down to do your tailgating and get there by 10 a.m., I mean, the freeway, you know, 80 is crowded with cars with their flags and their stickers and everything else. I think we've always known there's been a strong presence, and I think you even see it with, you know, the River Cats on the baseball side with the Giants and the A's. I think personally, one of the reasons I was very passionate about seeing the new entertainment and sports complex that the Kings are building is because I'm tired of going to see concerts in the Bay Area. You know, that's gas dollars, that's, you know, restaurant dollars, that's, you know, all those different things that are being spent outside of our market.
Now, you're just trying to soften me up. You know I'm an old concert promoter, so. and what's funny is that a couple of friends of mine said, you know, we still have the same venues we had years ago, which are basically the Convention Center and Memorial Auditorium. You know, we've got to do better.
Yes.
We've got to do better. Let's talk a little bit about community. We touched on that a little bit earlier, but there's kind of a symbiotic relationship between the team and the fan base itself. What are you all most proud of at the River Cats in terms of what you do out in the community?
Scott, I think the beautiful thing about minor league baseball, and we hang our hat that it's not about the wins and losses. You know, we want to provide family-friendly entertainment at a great value, and that's really our market and our niche and where we come in at. Now, what that allows us to do is as well, because it's not about the players on the field; they change from day to day. You know, we get a notice and a player's up or a player's down or whatever. So for us, it's about the experience. It's about connecting with the community. Susan Savage, our owner, has a huge heart for arts and education. Some of the things we do every year, we do an art day. This year with the addition of our new Western Health Advantage Legacy Club, we have new pillars at the ballpark. And if you're out at Raley Field, you realize that there's a bunch of artwork on tiles on the rest of the pillars.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, so Art Day this year, Susan's made sure we've ordered new tiles. She made sure the design was just like the rest of the ballpark, so we can have students out to color on these tiles.
Where do these students come from?
Some of the local elementary and middle schools. The beautiful thing, and maybe this hits home with your question, the beautiful thing right now is we're seeing a generational shift where the previous students 16 years ago that participated in Art Day and have their tiles at Raley Field, 15, 16 years later, they're having young families and they're starting to bring them out to the ballpark, and we'll see a dad or a mom show their toddler, hey, that's the, you know, my tile that I created, you know, when I came to my first game. So we get to do that again this year. Additional things, Susan's very passionate about Jackie Robinson Day. We
you guys have a 42 day, right?
Yes, we do. So we celebrate that early in April. So we invite everybody to check the calendars, come on out and participate in that.
Tell me something. Why is it important to do a day like Jackie Robinson Day for you all?
For us, it's so important, and it ties into not just history of America, our culture, but obviously baseball as well. The Giants they love Jackie Robinson. They wish he wasn't a Dodger. but that's okay.
Can't fault him for that.
No, it's in part of our home run tours, when we invite students out to come to Raley Field in the off season. We teach them about the history of our culture in baseball and focus on Jackie Robinson and just breaking the color barrier and the leadership that he showed. As general manager, leadership is very important to me. I love the standard that Jackie set. I love how Pee Wee Reese challenged him. Jackie, don't give in, be strong, don't let others change you. You know, be the man that you want to be. And that's such a great, strong message today. And
And that sounds a lot like, one of the roles that sports plays is that it's character building.
Well, I personally, I think sports, unlike any other aspect to society, can create change. So if you look at Jackie Robinson, to some degree, baseball was integrated before our school systems were, before Brown versus the Board of Education.
That's an interesting insight.
Personally, sports broke the ceiling for women long before anything else. At a time when they said, you can't work, you physically aren't capable, you don't have the right to vote, and yet you had a woman, swim the English Channel and prove everybody wrong. So sports, beyond just being a catalyst in a neighborhood for development and growth and that kind of thing, I think that's where sports can really play a role. Whether it's creating conversations locally about, arts and how we integrate that into our community. Something that we found and kind of the journey we went through with Sacramento Republic FC was, and we first sat down with our marketing agency, Augustine Ideas, and talked about the brand. And, one, we wanted to be very grassroots and come from the fans and kind of build up. But we realized before we could brand the team, we had to brand Sacramento.
Oh.
Sports teams are viewed as civic entities, or civic assets, but they are truly privately run businesses in the same regard. And something we've discovered is like our merchandise, one of the reasons it kind of flies off the shelves is because it is a great brand of Sacramento as a whole. We have people that come in and buy it because they're going to go travel around the world and they want to be proud of Sacramento. And I think that's where you can see sports be that catalyst. We saw this, when the Kings were in their heyday. If you were traveling and you could be in the farthest reaches of the world and you told someone you were from Sacramento, 9 times out of 10, they knew where Sacramento was because of the Kings, even before being the capital of California. And that's where I think probably the most current example, our motto is Urbs Indomita, which translated in Latin means indomitable city. And that was on the original city seal.
Really?
And somewhere around the 1950s, it disappeared. And now they're talking about maybe we should be bringing it back.
Well, your sport is considered by most to be the most international of sports. Having the presence of soccer, and I know that you all are vying for a permanent franchise here, what does that mean in terms of the visibility of Sacramento on the world stage?
We've, just our journey and our bid for Major League Soccer has created, put Sacramento in very much a national presence and shown what the market can support and provide. World Cup, 1 out of 2 people in the world watch it. When World Cup happens every 4 years.
1 out of 2?
1 out of 2. So it truly is the world's game. Most people refer to it as football. We do talk about it as soccer here in the U.S. a lot of times. But it is, and one of the reasons I think it has really taken hold here in Sacramento is because we are such a diverse city. Whether it's first, second, third generations, they grew up with the sport and played it where they grew up and have brought it here and now passed it on. And it's a tremendous thing. And a lot of cities sometimes will, kind of think globally and act locally in that regard. We almost did a reverse. We felt we were already such a diverse city, we don't need to necessarily promote the global aspects of the game. It was really more about identifying how the game engages Sacramento and was special to it.
So when you think about Sacramento as it's continuing to evolve, and the mayor of Sacramento recently talked about Sacramento 3.0. What role can professional sports play in helping us to refine how it is that we view ourselves and how we project ourselves out to the rest of the world?
Scott, it's great that you bring that up now. I've recently traveled, and I've been I come here, been in Sacramento for almost 3 years now, living in other parts of the country, the Northwest, and Texas and Tennessee for 5 years, and was just in Cincinnati recently. Talking to other folks there, some NFL teams, the Minnesota Vikings. They said, "Oh, you're from Sacramento." Oh yeah, we're hearing a lot about the Sacramento Republic FC. Obviously, Minneapolis is vying for a spot as well. They want to talk about that. They know about the River Cats. They know what's going on. I was talking with a gentleman from Chicago who was in town recently, and he said, yeah, the River Cats, you guys like the 31st Major League Baseball franchise.
Nice compliment.
Oh, great compliment.
Yeah.
But what that shows is people outside the area view us the way we need to view ourselves. When I came to Sacramento, I realized, it's like, man, there needs to almost be a paradigm shift, and it's happening, and we're seeing that right now. And the beauty of it is that as sports, we're seeing ourselves become the leader of that, and so it's an exciting time.
More of like a can-do spirit.
Very much
Yeah.
a can-do spirit. I love what our mayors in the area are doing, really pushing this forward as well. So, it's exciting. It's a responsibility, and Sacramento's really coming around. The whole Sacramento proud, steal that from the Kings. There is a pride emerging, and it's fun to see that.
And just to add to that, I think a huge part of that Sacramento 3.0 is recruiting and retaining a workforce for the future. And a big piece of that's the millennials. They are currently right now, I think, the largest workforce, the generation that's, shaping things in many regards. And what's important to them is civic amenities. They want to have the restaurants and the pubs, if it's going to a lowbrow and sitting on the outside deck and having a local beer, or if it is going to a sporting event, or it's going to a concert, or it's being able to bike ride somewhere and go to the parks. Those are important aspects that it's a generation. In fact, the incoming college generation in the past used to, they'd pick kind of their major and then their college. Now they're picking the city they want to go to and probably create a life out of, and then they pick the college separate based on what college is near there.
Help an old boomer understand this, because so essentially what you're saying is that these civic amenities are more important than potentially the what they're immediately seeking.
Yep.
For a job or something like that on the ground.
Well, and even, in the past, after college, you tried and went wherever the corporations were, the jobs were, and that's changing now. The corporations are following where the workforce is. And especially, you're dealing with a creative class, and, we're getting out, we've moved out of kind of manufacturing and moved out of the service and now into this other, intellectual property and small business and entrepreneurship. And it's not just the millennials, it's also the boomers. You have a lot of boomers that want to be closer to downtown cores. They love going to the Crocker Art Museum, or they love going out on enjoying the beauty of outside and sitting in an outside restaurant. So it's not just the millennials, but it's something even in the study missions. We went to Philadelphia. So Philadelphia is a great example of a city that had all this immense college talent, and they were leaving. And one of the biggest things they did is they improved their downtown core with the civic amenities and the walkable streets and the restaurants and the vibrant scenes and the nightlife. And in, I think, 5 years, they retained 50% more.
Really?
So it is a huge aspect to that 3.0.
So what things sound like that they're going well. You both are having sellout crowds at times, not constantly, not 100% of the time.
Not yet.
Not yet, but we're working in that direction, right? What are the challenges that you're focused on right now? What needs to improve in order to take your respective successes to a higher level?
I think it's something we touched on earlier at the start, Scott, where as we look around, Erika mentioned retaining the workforce here. Jobs are important to sustain anything. We've got a great loyal fan base. We'd love to see that grow. We need it to grow so the area can grow. You touched on the Bridge District and the development. Part of that is a streetcar connecting downtown Sacramento, Midtown with West Sacramento. As we see people come out and look to develop around Rayleigh Field and the Bridge District there, that's exciting, and we need it, and we need that. But part of that's also infrastructure, making sure that that whether it is biking, new bridges being added. We've been talking with West Sacramento about the plans for additional bridges to connect West Sacramento and downtown. That's going to be a priority as we continue to move forward. You're already seeing some of the apartments and condos coming up in West Sacramento and the Bridge District. We love the fact that those are selling well. We love that people are moving. They want to be close to all of this excitement, energy, and action. But now it's making sure that they can be connected to one another as well as our sports teams as well.
I think transportation is going to be huge, and not just regarding sports, but for the growth of the region. People really kind of want to get away from 2-3 car households. They want to drive shorter distances. I'm an example of that. I love that I'm a mile and a half from my house and can ride my bike to work. But it's also going to be important to our suburbs. Having those connections so people can come downtown, really helps. A lot of the folks that want to go to, whether it's Folsom or
does that take a different mentality than we have? So in the Bay Area, BART is used by everybody. People go from BART to Muni to a bus, and you'll see everyone from students all the way to chief executives doing that. In Sacramento, public transportation and being part of that experience historically has been very challenged.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, so much so that some of the folks concerned with the new entertainment and sports complex had a sit down with the transit authorities and said, you guys have to change.
Yes.
What has to happen in order for us to be able to change that mentality and get more people so that we're more connected?
I think this is also where sports can help. You know, it provides a great opportunity for people to try new experiences, and we saw that with the games at Hughes Stadium. You know, people who decided to take it in because either they didn't want to pay for parking or they were worried about traffic or anything along those lines. But it is also going to take a different mentality from, you know, the leaders of who, you know, operate and run not just our regional transit, but when we think about how bikes are integrated into our city. You know, it's not just about putting bike racks in front of a building. It's making sure that they've got, whether it's bike protected lanes or that they can actually bike through certain intersections. It's looking at the walkability to various events and sporting events. You know, all those pieces kind of come together. I think, you know, in the past, the conversation when it came to transportation and sports was, well, are you going to have enough parking? And more often than not, we're finding that, you know, no matter the age, people really want to use their cars less. It is a trend that's going, and it's going to require both leadership to have a different perspective and also make sure that it is user-friendly, let's put it that way.
And we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks to you both.
Thank you.
And that's our show. Thanks to our guests and thanks to you for watching Studio Sacramento. I'm Scott Syfax. See you next time right here on KVIE.
At Five Star Bank, community is at the heart of what we do. Every day we strive to have thoughtful solutions for our customers and help our communities prosper. Honest dialogue about the issues affecting the region is vitally important to that prosperity. We are proud to be part of the conversation and hope you'll join in.
All episodes of Studio Sacramento, along with other KVIE programs, are available to watch online at kvie.org/video.